there comes a moment where there's a shift where you're no longer a person looking at life. You are life
Mhm.
looking at itself through you. Oh
Mhm.
my God.
Welcome to The Deep Coach, the podcast where we explore the transformational journeys that shape us and that propel us to change the world. I'm your host, Jonathan Edmida, and in each episode, we sit down with those who have journeyed into the depths of spiritual transformation and who are now reshaping the world through their presence and their work. In listening to these incredible human beings, you'll find insight, inspiration, and practical tools to support your journey as a coach and as a human being. My guest today is Phyllis Lane. Phyllis is an intuitive photographer, artist, mentor coach, and entrepreneur with over 25 years devoted to creativity as a living practice and professional path. Rooted in presence and sacred seeing, her work offers spontaneous, embodied creativity as medicine, a way back to what is most alive and true. She uses photography, movement, writing, and intuitive drawing as contemplative practices for awakening presence and deep transformation. She is also the author of Living the Flow, an invitation to step out of the thinking mind and allow life to be the guide. And living the flow she does. Phyllis, as you'll come to see in this conversation, is truly walking the walk, or as she may say, walking the pathless path, where nothing is guaranteed and one has no choice but to trust. We talk about her traumatic upbringing, how everything she came to know fell away, including a relationship and business of nearly 15 years, and how from these pieces she began to tap into and trust her intuition, an intuition that has brought her the life and career she lives today. This conversation is especially pertinent to those seeking to live with greater trust and connection with life. It really is a beautiful conversation. Enjoy. Phyllis, it is such a joy to have you here with me. We were just laughing and reconnecting again after a year of being apart. We got to be face to face a year ago on retreat. And we were just talking about how much joy, how much laughter we got to experience together. And it really felt like every cell in our bodies were just lit up and dancing. So it's great to be reconnected with you here.
It does. It feels really, really good. And it was like, yeah, such a joy such a celebration. And seeing you now is like, yeah, it brings it all back. It's like, oh, yeah.
Mm, so good, so good.
Mhm. So good.
And you were talking about just before we went live that over the past couple of years, you've been going through this unraveling process, the unraveling of a long-term relationship and a business partnership that went along with that relationship. You had two dogs that passed away after 16 years of life,
Mm-hmm.
aging parents, just so many things that are happening and have been happening in your life over the past 3 years. We're going to dive into all those different moments to better understand how you've been navigating it. What I'm most curious to start with is, who would you say Phyllis Lane was prior to all of that happening? Sort of like take us back maybe 20 years.
Oh my God. Wow. Like, that's a great question. Who was she? Who was she? Well, if I look back, um, and if I look way back, if I actually connect the dots to like the beginning, right? Even back to childhood, right? Because as I've been kind of reflecting on my journey in life, I came from a family, especially visiting, with my elderly parents. It's like it brings it all back. But coming from a family that, it was like the life curriculum was, it gave me the things that turned me into who I am now. And so from the very beginning, growing up in an environment that was kind of, I say, turbulent. My father had a fierce temper. Like you never knew what was going to happen. And I think at a very young age, I developed high sensitivity and the ability to kind of tune in when things would get, turbulent. And so I learned, and so sensing that, and kind of in an environment where emotions were repressed, right? Except for anger. And so you didn't have feelings. And it was, things would erupt and then things were never talked about. And so that way of living, it was like kind of, it denied your inner world, and kind of like I learned at a young age that connection meant abandonment of yourself, like of your feelings. And then in junior high, I was bullied in school, and really bullied. And a teacher saw what was going on, and he's like, maybe you should join my martial arts class. And I was like, yeah. And what he taught wasn't fighting. It was actually perception. And he would literally move towards you without warning, and you had to like respond before thinking, right? And if you thought it was too late, like he would grab you, and so it was the first time I learned about intuition, not as an idea, but as an actual knowing, like a sensory perception. And then next point I graduated high school early. I'm age 16. I'm thrown right into the modeling world. I signed with Ford Models and right into the world of, let's say, I won't say predators, but, in a world that doesn't really see you for who you are, right? More of surface. And so another world or opportunity where not being seen taught me to be a seer. Okay. And I worked with photographers some who could see me, and then some who, did not, and objectified. And, so like connecting these dots, right? And then after being in the fashion world, I remember a friend asking me, or, mentioning, is your heart into this life? Or, and this is when I was living in New York. And at that moment I was like, no, my heart isn't in this. Like, it's like the path with heart. Is your heart in this? If it's not on your path, then you're not, it's not your path. And I was like, I didn't know where my heart was. So I moved from New York, and that's when I moved to Arizona. And that's when I say, at that moment I was, I dedicated to, finding my heart. Right. And from New York, it was a lot of external distraction. I moved to the desert. There was no external distractions. It was like, what's nothing to do here? So it kind of became an inner journey. And the thing about it is that I had, when I was traveling, I was highly, philosophical. I had like philosophy books in my backpack, and I was very well read. I could, psychologically talk the latest lingo, but it was almost like spiritual bypassing in a sense. I couldn't touch the feeling, right? If I sat with a therapist, I could talk all day long and it never would go anywhere. But the turning point came when I found art, or art found me. And I started painting in my early 20s, and I had never had a paint class. And then what I started painting was these images started to appear, like dark, like rage and deep grief, and like masks, and like these images started emerging. And I at first I was kind of ashamed of them, because I always had to be like this kind of performer, or like this positive coach, because people around me were always negative, but these images started emerging, and I like I said, I was ashamed of them, but I also loved them, because it was the first time my inner world began to connect to it. And at that particular time, I just had started leading spontaneous creativity groups, and a woman had come over and she actually saw these drawings. They happened to be out, and she's like, "Oh my God, what are these?" And I was kind of like, "Don't look, don't look." And she's like, "Oh my God, these are incredible." And anyway, she inspired me to bring them to this group. And it was the first time I shared the truth, and it was kind of like bringing the shadows out into the light. So that became the turning point. And I remember I cried. It was like yeah. And so creativity became a way where I could bypass that thinking mind and go right into the heart of the matter, right? And then at the same time, I started working with a really incredible teacher named Gabrielle Roth. She did the 5 rhythms, and she used movement as medicine. And so you would arrive on the dance floor, and this wasn't about doing dance steps. This was about being moved, right? And you could see where you were doing your little steps in the corner, like your conditioning, right? And you would have the opportunity to break out of who you've been, like, and when you start unlocking all those, like, your body stores that trauma, cellular trauma, and you start unlocking it, then you start releasing that, like the rage, the grief. It's like, so that became a way where I was able to kind of break out of the confines of being locked in, you know. And so dance, and then I also intuitive drawings, right? Close my eyes, non-dominant hand, and just like not know what's going to come out, and then these images would start emerging, right, out of nowhere. And so I developed all these creative tools to enter my own heart, and it was like the journey from the head back to the heart, and it was like the unraveling, right? The unthawing, the all those times when you bit the bullet and you, like, you know, got traumatized and you sucked it up, and you know, it was like, and then allowing that to sob yourself back to life and to draw yourself and dance yourself, and just until like in like the 5 rhythms, you dance until there's nothing but silence and you've been emptied, right? And so that kind of, like, in a nutshell, I know it's a long story, but it's like, and then those creative tools, right, that became the medicine for my own soul are the tools that I started, you know, people started showing up at my doorstep, like wanting to be mentored by me or coaching. It's like what I now am calling a muse. It's like part coach, part mentor, part creative mirror. But it's like, you know, and using a lot of the, you know, creative tools as ways to help them drop right out of the mind and right into the now and right into this to this blank moment, which is it's like where we can't hide, where it's vulnerable. It's like you know, and it's scary to the mind, because it's like I say, it's like skydiving, where you jump into this unknown, and when you jump, you let go of everything you've known, and in that unknown, it's unscripted, it is uncertain, it is like you're just like, there's no identity. It's just like and something, as you show up there more and more, something shifts in that space, where when you begin to trust it, right, like the chute opens, right, and free falling becomes flying. That's the shift. What used to scare you, and it takes a long time to, you know, you bypass, you keep showing up even though it scares you, right? At some point, flying, right, you know that's where you want to be, because that's where aliveness is, that's where originality is, that's where you are, you know, you're not living life, life is living you, you're flowing. Oh. And that feels so good. But you know, the journey to get there, right, is like, it's not hard to just step out of a plane, but it is, because every time you enter the blank moment, every time you enter the unknown, the mind is there, like, no, you're gonna die, you're not an artist, you're not, no. And it's like, and then every time you don't listen to that part, and then you step and you enter, you've just strengthened your intuition. You've just surrendered into the divine intelligence that will carry you. And as a creative, I come to trust it so much. If I try to force my ideas, like what I think should happen, onto the present, I block the flow. But I've come to know it so well that if I trust it, it's like, turns out better than you imagined. Like, you're like, and people say, how did you do that? And it's like, the truth is, you're like, I have no idea, because the moment was guiding you. It's like the drawing drew itself. You're not that you were being danced. And wow, I mean, that's the flow, right? And that's it feels right. It's like being an instrument for divine, for creativity. So yeah, so that, to answer your question in a nutshell, that's like bringing it all together. And it's like now my whole job is, how can I keep the channel open, right? How can I keep, because I say life doesn't come, it's like it doesn't come from you, it comes through you, right? So if there is no you there. So someone says, how'd you write your book? It's like, I, it's like, I don't know. I didn't write it. Because I was moved, and I like every idea, everything that's ever happened for my life. Even I created companies that came. It was crazy at the time. It's like, whew, and it just came through, and you go, and then you're just like,
Yeah.
and
Can
that's
you?
it.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious to understand. So prior to going to Arizona, how internally focused were you? Meaning, how attuned were you to what was happening inside of you?
Well, I would say because of my background, of how I grew up and everything, and then being in New York, I was struggling. I mean, I I was disconnected. Okay, so I was highly in my mind, and I was trying to control through the outside in, right? Whether that be trying to fix myself through, it was kind of like I was numb, I guess you could say. And so when I moved to Arizona, it, yeah, yeah, it was a return to the feeling life. And so those years of in New York and before that, it was like I was a performer. It was more externally, like I could turn it on, but internally, like I, I didn't, I couldn't, and that was probably those times I was probably drinking alcohol or doing anything that could help get out of, just release some of that energy or whatever. And I think when I came to Arizona too, and I was in a relationship, that what happens when you are disconnected, no one can get close to you, right? There's so much stuff in the way, right? And we do draw relationships to us that are like mirrors. So a lot of, it's like, and that also, I realized there was a lot that I had to integrate, right? Our projections and our, like places that needed integration and presence and a place where acceptance, right? And so, yeah, I think so. When you live in the head, you're not in the heart space. You're not feeling. It's a kind of a numbing space.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
not in your body. You're not in the moment. You are, yeah, you're just, because to fully be here, you check out basically, because if you are fully here, you have to be with all this uncomfortable, like
Mm.
all the things that you've been running away from.
Mm. In so many ways, I mean, your journey starting with Arizona and all the, connecting to yourself and releasing those energies and connecting to your creativity and to your sensitivity in this process is when you got into that long-term relationship and started a business. Is that right?
Yes, I mean it was, yeah, in the late 20s, early 30s is when I had started creativity, before that relationship, but yeah, but I was, already like doing my own art. I was a professional photographer. I was been doing photography since I was a model. I was doing both, So I had my own business, and then when my partner, when he came into the picture, yeah, we created a business together. So I was
Mhm.
like the creativity and he was the technology. And so it was, yeah, it was a learning journey.
What was the nature of the business?
It was making handmade coffee table couture. It was called Couture Book. Beautiful handmade books that of your images, right? So, but they were, handmade, and it was, beautiful, like old world, binding with new, the new printing, digital printing. So it was. And it's the business. We eventually sold it when we split, and it's it's still around. And yeah, so it was, but that was a
What
journey.
what lessons have you taken from running a business with, well, period, running a business, but also with a partner?
Don't do it. No.
And I don't just mean romantic partner. I mean like literally being in business with another
Yeah,
human.
yeah. Well,
It
when
goes
you
hand in hand.
incorporate together, you're partners.
That's right. That's right.
It's like a marriage license. You're in it
So
together.
true. It's so true.
And
Yeah.
so, like any relationship, right? It's it is a commitment, and yeah, you want to make sure that you align, right? And you have the skills to be able to, like a relationship, be able to take responsibility for your projections and have the ability to communicate and come back to the table and share, to maybe say you're sorry, or maybe say, let's do this differently, or learning, because like anything in life, like when you with business, or with relationships, it's, you have money fears, you have responsibility fear, like all the survival fears come in. So learning how to meet these challenges, right, and is the work.
Hmm.
It's the work. It's, so uh I say don't go into business with, it's challenging, because when I was working with my ex-partner, he, we worked all the time, and it was a lot of strain, and we went through a lot of challenges together, where our business, where we went, at one point we were $500,000 in debt, and we came out of it, but it was like, all those survival needs are the fears of, like, pressures, and it's hard on a relationship. It's really hard. So, and I think also when I look back now, as now that I've had time to, you know, embody standing on my own, right? Learning how to um, take care of, I say, my own garden in a sense. Uh, it's when you start to become dependent on someone, it doesn't mean that you're not interdependent, but when you depend, uh, it creates a, not a situation, it's a neediness and I depended on my ex for a lot of things, and I used to get so mad at him because he would say things like, Google's your friend, like he didn't want to help me with technology. And then I came to find out after we broke up that, yeah, Google is my friend. Like I love it. It's like, he was really true. And then when, years later, he was like, yeah, it looks like I taught you well, or because I was, managing the technology. And so it was fun. I mean, so you learning how to take responsibility for all the choices that you make, right?
Mm.
And being responsible is about emotional maturity, right? And it's also, so with the partner that you're with, is, it's not like you need them, right? It's like you can enjoy them, and it's like it's a choice, a moment to moment choice, a commitment, right? So it's a different way of approaching a relationship, and I had to learn it the hard way. So
That was going to be my question. How aware of, I guess, the core wounds that you carried inside that impacted the relationship, and how intentional were you about navigating that in the partnership?
well, I learned, I yeah, even in this last while, it's brought a lot of awareness to, the patterns are so deep, and what I learned, because my ex, I used to call him Checkout Charlie, and I was always mad at him because he was always checked out, right? Okay, so and I seem to I've in my past relations, I seem to attract the Checkout Charlies, which are you know, and I have this whole analogy. I kind of stumbled upon it when I was coaching, but I Charlies are like, they're fun, they're highly creative, and probably they might have addictions somewhere, but and they're kind of spontaneous. So, and then there's the Barbara Bossies, right? Barbara Bossies are, um, you know, trying to do everything for them, but they're more like the parent. So Charlie's more like the child, right? And Barbara Bossie's like, she's like, doing everything she can so someone can finally be there for her. So she's always on Charlie to show up. Barbara Bossie grew up in a family where no one was there for her. She became a parent at a very young age. She started parenting her parents emotionally because there was no emotional awareness. And maybe there was addiction, or it was very unstable. So her inner child got squashed. Charlie, on the other hand, probably was overly mothered, probably never made his bed, and had no boundaries, like never had, so these are just like stereotypes. So two people come and probably was neglected, their inner child was neglected too, because there was no, anyway, so they come together, Barbara Bossie and Barbara Bossie's like, no one's here for me. So she's going to get Charlie to show up. Charlie's like, don't tell me what to do. That's his mantra. But what it is like, there's two people that aren't there. They're not there. It's like two half people. It's a child and a parent. And so when I look back at my relationships, right, I was trying to get my ex to show up, and while I was abandoning my own inner child. Okay. And when we split, I made a commitment to not abandoning myself ever again. And that shift, and after we split, like, he moved away and went right into another relationship right away. And I wanted to like check out, like I wanted to say, screw it, I'm going to move it, like, but I didn't. I committed to showing up for myself unconditionally, for my heart, which is the child, whatever was there. And I made that commitment, right? And so that learning how to show up for oneself, like I will be here for me, and what that actually means. So when I went home to my elderly parents, which is the system where I got the original pattern, immediately they threw me into a role of giving up yourself, like you don't even have and right into those original roles. And I felt, when I was there, I began to feel like I was dying inside. Like it was like this, like, and so removing myself from that situation, I still visit and help, and I'm grateful that they're alive and everything. But now I know how to create an environment for myself where, I won't abandon myself. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I'm grateful for, the endings that allowed me into this deeper awareness. And the new journey is, when you parent your own inner child, and the inner child is your creativity. It is your, no one, it's like we look into partners to like get from a parent, like what we never got. So when you start to give that to yourself, you become whole, right? And then, you attract someone who is whole, right? Who takes care of their self. Now, if you attract someone who wants you to abandon them, that's like, dazzling and like, connection doesn't mean that you have to give up yourself. You can trust that you will be met. So that's a shift for me, and I'm trusting, and it's a holding that space, it's like what we learn in coaching, right? We hold deep space for our clients, and I do that not only for my coaching clients, but even my photography clients. But when you hold that deep space for you, meaning like you show up for whatever's here and you don't bypass it, you don't spiritualize it, you allow it. And that's the beginning of a new relationship of you with your own inner child that actually, it's the journey back to the heart space, which is, I say, is like the portal back to the vibrational, to the divine, to God, because life is feeling, right? And no one can feel for you, right? So it's this portal back into the feeling life, and that is where joy is. And it's a practice. It's a daily practice of holding space, otherwise, you become like an unhealed healer, or you're out, and so my heart, when I'm here for it, it's like the healing work you do for you it's like you're holding space for all hearts, right? So
Yeah.
deep work.
Life has a sense of humor, because when you
So,
decided that you're going to be there for yourself, life was like, let's see, I'm going to take everything away from you. Everything that you've come to know,
oh
all the
my,
ground that was beneath your feet. Let's see how deeply you're going to be there for yourself.
that's
Can you talk
so
about that
true.
period in time?
Yeah, that's so true. It's like I say, as soon as you say, I want peace, life delivers chaos.
Right. Let's see how peaceful you can be.
I know. I was like, live in the flow. I was like writing this book, and then it's like, all right, let's see really how well we do here. Let's take away everything that you've known,
Yes.
and we'll see how you are in the unknown,
That's
when
right.
you can't hold on to anything. And it is like skydiving. Your mind gets scared, and it's like what I experience every time I enter the blank moment. I've come to not listen to it, because I know it keeps you from living, it keeps you from creating, but it's still, there's times when it's very active, right? And you do listen to it, and it's what keeps you from not showing up, and it keeps you blocked and scared. But when you're in survival mind, it blocks the flow, right? So I had to learn that. Like, so when I went home to my parents, and wow, I love them dearly, and I'm so grateful they're still alive. And I'm really happy that I have this opportunity to see a lot of things, right? From, understanding where I've come from, and patterns and conditioning. It's, but, chaos, clutter, noise, like television loud all day long. My parents yelling at each other. Like, I was like, when you're not around it for a while, it's like, did I grow up in that? It's so unsettling. And I was like, and the dog, and they had all these dogs, and they were like, "Rrr," and I was like, oh. And I would find myself in the room upstairs, like trying to like practice the presence, like just like, like it was like life was like, okay, let's see how
Let's see what you got.
what you got. And I literally, I was looking at it as a practice, and it was like my spiritual temple. And when I first would go up there, it was like I could only last a couple weeks, and then I call it the vortex. I get, and then, but, Ram Dass says, if you want to see how spiritual you are, just go home. It's true. And I can go home for about a month now, and I feel like, but I also, so it's the ultimate spiritual training.
Yeah. So it's your parents, but you also had dogs that passed away. You had the business that crumbled, and so describe that moment. So you're finding yourself kind of not knowing what's next, the pathless path, and
Mm-hmm.
how were you relating to life in that moment? What was happening inside of you as to where you felt you needed to be next?
Well, like I say, every time you enter the blank moment, you meet right at that threshold is the mind.
Yes.
So the mind is scared to death, and it's like going like, you'll never, where you need to figure this out. You need a plan. Where are you going to be in 5 years? Where's the money coming from? Where are you going to make it? Look at you. You're already this, look at your ex. He's already, and then you try to figure it out, try to, access your answers from the outside. Like you're like asking, what should I do? What should I do? That's the mind, and it's terrifying. And you make, when you're in that space, that dysregulated place, you make bad decisions, right? Because you're seeking on the outside for something that's unfulfilled on the inside, and nothing on the outside will ever. You'll be a constant seeker. The next place, the next person, the next, right? So I've come to know that, okay, just like, there's the mind, and then I want to enter the present. I want to enter, and a lot of times I'll dance that thinker out, and because underneath it all, you have the answers. It's knowing. And it doesn't come from, that loud, it comes from intuition. So in the blank space is where intuition is received, and where guidance, right? And I say it's like the pathless path, where there is no path. So for me, it's like, I don't know where I'm going. The mind wants the map, like, where are you going? Where's the map? The map is like, somebody else's map, right? It's like, this is how you do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's no method. There's no, no script. No. So this is where those intuitive navigational tools, you have to learn how to empty, right? Clear out of the mind, and then tune into that intelligence, right? That deeper intelligence, that is what's beating your heart, what's guiding billions of planets, right? How do we align in there into that dynamic now, into the field, right? So that's the daily practice. That is, and I have practices. I show up. I'm devoted, because you can't get your answers from the external. So the internal world, I dedicate every morning showing up into that space, and I'm listening and attuning, and practices that keep me, listening, and then being moved. That's how intuition works. It won't lay out the whole plan. And I always say it's almost like you're blindfolded, because it's like you listen and then you take one step, right? But in that one step, things it's like you're already unfolding, right? You're just and then next thing you know, this shows up, and then it's just, you're in, right? So yeah, I'm a student. I fall off the path. I listen to the mind. It's like the head tripper, and I trip. And then I go, and then I'm like, and honestly, I've taken myself, during what you just said, like when everything crumbled, at one point when my mind was so active, and I was in a state of like, this is when I didn't even have a place to live. I was in extended stay hotels. I was like, I couldn't stay at my parents'. I was like, I literally drove myself skydive. I took myself out skydiving again, because I was like, dang it, I'm gonna, cellular remember this. Like, I needed to like go there again to drop out and drop in and trust in the presence, trust in the intelligence. And yeah, and that did help. I have to say, like when you face death, like death is a great teacher. Like, okay, yeah, you might die. Somehow that really, that kind of reset me for a while. Yeah. But it truly is like a daily practice, right? And aligning, and kind of like a surfer, right? If you're out there on the wave, you have to be fully present. You have to be reading and ultimately sensing you're fully present. Otherwise, you get pummeled. And so it's learning how to navigate the now. And it's I'm devoted because it's yeah, that's the only way.
It's the only way. Devotion is the right word. And so many in our folks that are listening, I think want to live that way on some level, but also be careful what you wish for on another level. And I get it. And I get it because, in so many ways, I feel like I've lived my life that way where I don't know what's next. I don't know what's coming. There's no grand master plan. And,
Right.
it's really one step at a time, one day at a time. And so how have you navigated that as a professional photographer, professional artist, not necessarily knowing when the next gig, the next client is coming?
Yeah, I love that question because, and that's a question I get a lot from creatives that I mentor or coach because they always like, how do I get jobs? Like, right. In a profession where there is no, yeah, you're not working a 9 to 5 job. There's no security. Like you never know when your next job comes. Right.
Yeah.
And I tell them like, everything is relationships. Right. And so, in all the years that I've been a professional photographer and artist, and even as a coach and it's always been word of mouth, right? I've never advertised. I never go out and chase and try to get, right? And I move from a place of giving, right? So when things get scared, like no work is coming in, you're not sure. Um, I offer my skills. I go contribute. I move right into a place of generosity without keeping score. And that shifts at all the energy, right? And then over time, right, those relationships on trust and like love and care is what builds the networks or builds the jobs, right? So I always say, instead of saying, what's in it for me, I say, what's in me for you,
Mm,
right? What's in
mm,
me for you. And so that, yeah, the path of the artist where, there's no guarantees, right? It's like getting out of survival mind. Once again, it's back to the same practice of letting go of the thinking mind that's scared, moving into the blank moment, into the unknown, and trusting, even when there's periods of nothing is happening, right? Not the phone's not ringing. I mean, I've had it so many times where I've gone long stretches, right? And in my mind could be like, you're gonna, it's over, you're never gonna work again, or it's like
mm.
I never listen to it. I just keep cultivating, keep showing up, devoted, and then out of nowhere, a job comes in, and that one job pays for the entire year.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! So
Incredible.
it's like, you get to meet your stories along the way, right? So
Mm,
your money stories, it's like, this is what you've known, what you think is possible. So when I say you got to move from the known to the unknown, that means like letting go of your money stories, letting go of who you think you are, what you think the economy's doing. Like you gotta enter that blank moment, and I say move right into generosity, move right into flow, right into enoughness.
mm.
And so far so good.
So far, you're here. At
So
least,
far
at
so
least with a
good.
computer and a mirror and
Hey,
clothes.
that's that you should be surprised what I can do with minimal.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'm the same. And it, I attribute it. The feeling that I've had over the years is of being in a car with the brakes out, going 90 miles per hour, heading straight for a cliff. And every single time, without fail, there's been road that shows up out of
Yeah,
nowhere to
I
keep the
know.
ride going.
It's
And what I've come to realize for myself is, and what I've done as a practice is, every single time the road shows up, is I pause to say, look, first of all, thank you, life, thank you, God, thank you,
yeah.
and then look, mind, pay
Mm,
attention, because you
right.
have to enroll the mind in this process.
Oh yeah. Right.
Look, you not only are you okay again, look at all the times that you've been okay when you thought it was going to be the end of you. And not only just in my story, but noticing that in other people, where they're the sky's falling, code red, code red. Breathe,
Yeah.
breathe.
Yeah.
You know,
Breathe.
and I've noticed that my nervous system has become quite calm and acclimated to chaos and to points of the unknown, because that is the practice. We have to enroll the mind in this. The mind's not going to love it.
I know the mind's not gonna, but at least, yeah, it sounds like you're learning how to allow it to settle down. Like, have a seat, take a
Yeah.
chill,
Yeah. Take
right?
a chill.
Yeah,
Look, we're here. We're here. We're
yeah.
alive. Yeah.
It's like, and what you said, like coming back into the present, right? Breathe, come back to this
Mm,
moment. Where are your feet? Where, let's come back, because truly this is it, and this moment is the future. And so if we learn how to, yeah, come on back, mind. The mind projects off into like the future. It never lives in the now, right?
totally.
So that's why intuition, like, okay, yeah, the mind's always here. It's always that threshold. But if it's like, okay, I hear you. It's like Michael Singer when he says you have an inner roommate. It's like, yeah,
Yes.
I hear. He's like, I just don't listen to my inner roommate. He's always like, you're gonna die. You're gonna go off that cliff, right? He's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, or
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I hope I go off that cliff. He's like, just agree with it, and it's like, oh, right. So you literally are, yeah. You learn the ways, like you said, how to navigate the chaos, right? The center of the storm. You have roots
Mm,
that are invisible, right? That keep you, uh, you know, grounded no matter what happens. And see, that's the way forward. And and staying in that center is the key.
yeah. And then I find in doing that, we then become the vehicle that life can use to fulfill whatever its mission may be in any given moment. Right.
Really true, right? We become the instrument, like literally, like we got ourselves out of the way because our
Yes.
minds are always like, you're gonna die, and who are you to say anything, and what are it's like, it's like we let go, and yeah, and then we show up and we allow, right, and then we're of service to whatever's in front of us with our presence.
That's
And
right.
that is, you know that's life, living you, right?
Yeah.
And it's, yeah, I mean, I say this in my photography. It's like there comes a moment where there's a shift where you're no longer a person looking at life. You are life
Mm,
looking at itself through you. Oh
mhm,
my God.
mhm, mm.
And it brings you into this divine connection, like, the beauty of all life, which is in everything and everyone, right? This beauty, and it's in the present, right? And I mean, it's what makes life beautiful. And yeah, I live for it.
And I would argue that this is the biggest superpower that someone can have in this day and age, because we are in an unknowable future.
Yes.
It's just
Yeah.
everything is unknowable. Like, you can't anticipate what is coming. You can't
Right.
prepare, you can't plan, you can pretend to, you can try to, you can do what you can do, but in reality,
Right.
we have no idea what's coming over the next 10, 20, 30 years.
That's
And
very true.
so being able to settle the mind and lean into curiosity, leaning into openness,
Hmm.
sensing
Yeah.
what
I
life
mean,
has in store for us. Yeah.
yeah, it's like the unknowable, like you said, is like, I mean, in all reality, it's always been unknowable. Like we
Right.
think we've known, right? So
Totally. Yeah.
it's just that what we've known has kind of been, it's starting to be like shifting,
Yeah.
because what we've
Yeah.
known, all those paradigms are falling away, right?
Right.
And so, in the sense, because we've gone from the information age into the intuitive age, because now we have artificial intelligence that, you're never going to outthink the thinking machine, right? And
Yeah.
so, what if we can't outthink it, which our whole society was, that's, how do we know how to do, what we're going to be replaced? No, this is where the intuitives, like, this is where you're the center of the storm. You be here fully. It's being fully present, fully listening, fully alive, right? that's the way forward. And that's really all you've ever known, even though you think you've known, that's it. And so that navigational, like, as everything, falls away and, you're caught, you want to be working from the inside out, from your inner wisdom,
Living the flow, as your book title suggests.
Living the flow, or
Living the flow, living
letting
the
life
flow.
live you, right? It's like, you've prepared yourself to be a vehicle to allow life to live you, and you're riding the waves, and it's like, whoa.
Tell us more about this book, how it came to be, and what the essence of it is.
I mean, I am looking at, like all my creative projects, it comes from nowhere. It's like, they don't come from me, they comes through me. So I think, like I said, when all these anchor points had been pulled out, right, in my life, and it was like I'd moved, I was kind of in this deep unknown space. I was just reflecting on how, how, in my creative life, when I, jumped out of the plane into the unknown, how it unfolded beautifully, right, and how it turned out better than I imagined. I just felt like, I wanted to create a companion book, not like a how-to book, like, because there's no method. It's not like, this is how you navigate the flow.
Right.
No. So it was like, and how can you put into words what is wordless, right? Like, the way knows the way, right? And so I wanted it was just like intuitive, a feeling like, let's create a companion book that maybe you could open anywhere, and it would just help you navigate, return you to the center, right? Realign you and help you navigate the pathless path, right? Where, you get scared and it allows you to come back, right? And, and in the book, it's a lot of space, and it's more contemplative, and there's intuitive drawings. And so it came from nowhere. And it came through.
Yeah.
And where it's going, I don't know.
Yeah. As it should be. Yeah. Came from nowhere and back into nothingness.
Yeah. Right. So I trust the process, and it's I do use it. Like, I open up to any page, and it's like the flow takes you where you belong.
Perfect.
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 That's it. I mean, and that little, it just aligns back, like, kind of like what you said about when you meet your thinking mind. It's like, okay, yes, let's breathe. And it allows you, it's not like living the flow is not like taking you somewhere. It's allowing you to remember to listen beneath the noise, beneath the mental, underneath where your wisdom is there, right? Your inner knowing. And it really is, the shift happens when you stop outsourcing your authority outside, like, and trusting the answers inside, because no one outside knows your path. No one. There's no, and so this helps bring you back to allow you to listen to your own guidance and trust, wherever your path is going to take you. And who knows?
Yeah. And you've already shared so many incredible nuggets of wisdom that, this question may be unnecessary, but I'm going to ask it anyways as we wrap up this conversation. If you were to leave the listener, somebody that's on their own transformational journey, with a bit of advice, a tip, a suggestion, anything at all that might support them as they're navigating their own unknown, what might you share?
The first thing that came to my mind was like, jump.
Take the leap. Take the leap.
It makes it, take the leap, right? And know that, follow the aliveness.
Yeah.
Follow the aliveness. Follow what, creates aliveness for you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Phyllis, you are a ray of sunshine. And honestly, your life is just such an inspiration. The way you live it, the way you think about it, how deeply you engage with life. You are the epitome of joy. And it's such a joy for me to be here with you and to have shared this space with you. So thank you. Thank you for sharing so much of yourself.
Thank you so much, Jonathan.
Thank you so much for being with us today. To learn more about today's guest, visit our podcast landing page at www.podcast.centerfortransformationalcoaching.com. You'll find links to their website, social media, and anything else they might want to share there. And if you're curious to explore more about our work, our trainings, or the deep coaching approach, you'll find everything at www.centerfortransformationalcoaching.com. A new episode of this podcast releases every 2 weeks, so please subscribe wherever you listen to stay up to date on each episode. Until next time, stay present, embrace love, and continue sensing into what life is calling you toward. See you soon.